Hello everybody, this is Skyflight44, aka Zect44, and today I'm going to start my Lord of the Rings LCG campaign. Finally got my decks ready, and we're going to be going through Passage Through Mirkwood today. So after going and looking at what we had to do, we could have gone through the core set, we possibly could have made it through Khazad-dûm, possibly Heirs of Numenor was an absolute no-go. That thing's just way too hard. And we could have went through some fan scenarios. I thought maybe that could be nice, but fan scenarios aren't really gonna get me anywhere. And the limited edition starter set, while it does give me some decent stuff, and I have actually beaten this before. I've beaten the core set before in this campaign. I'm not looking for that stress right now. So we're back to the core set. Again, I don't know how many times I've actually beaten this scenario. And the next one. And the one after that. Though I'm pretty sure I beat or I've played the third scenario the most because of that one time I was trying to beat the third scenario solo using just the core set cards. And yeah, that was a challenge. So, these cards over here are what we're going to earn if we go and beat the core sets. Or at least this is what's left of them after I made a deck. These are what we still have in the collection. So how shall we start this? Well, let's introduce each and every single deck. The main deck, or the first deck, that I'm running is a leadership and spirit deck. This one's more so a general deck. Like, it can do whatever it needs to. It can be support. It can go about fighting. It can go about questing. No matter what you need, it can go about doing it. Then I have, and I usually have in second, my fighting deck. Running 2 tactics and 1 leadership, and all of them are made to fight. Even Glowin, made to fight. In third, I have, well, this one's also kind of a general deck, but it has a completely different purpose. While the first one is all about more so questing, fighting, being able to do a lot of different things. This one, you could say, is a little bit more into support and obviously combat, considering the fact that I'm using 2 lore and 1 tactics. The tactics having some, pretty good fighting capabilities, and lore coming around is more being able to do whatever it wants, really, but having more unique effects than let's say some of the others right now. Again, healing's a much better idea. And a deck for fighting, especially if you can go about throwing like self-preservation on some of these. That could be fun. And lastly, I always have either my questing deck in fourth or in first, mainly because engagement phase or the encounter phase, and when we're trying to engage or we're gonna be stuck engaging with enemies, it's either best for your quester to be the one that you don't want to fight being at the very beginning or the very end, because that means by the second round, when you're probably, if you can't get rid of everything in the first, where you're going to have quite a few more enemies that you're going to be dealing with, and therefore getting it to as far back from the first player as possible is generally best. So, with setup, because I know I haven't actually shown this to anybody yet, we shuffle our decks. Counter deck, each and every single deck for the players. Then we place heroes and set threat levels. Again, everybody has a threat cost, and you add all of them up and to find out what your initial threat is. And it's best to have less than 30, depending on exactly what the scenario is. But the second scenario in the core set definitely went about putting in the minds of everybody that's played this game, don't start out with 30 or more threat. It might end poorly for you. We get to create a token bank. That is pointless in this because we can just generate tokens however we like. We've already determined the first player. I've been doing this out of order. Sue me. Get to draw a starting hand, so each player draws 6 cards from the top of his or her deck. If a player does not wish to keep this starting hand, that player may shuffle the 6 cards back into his or her deck and draw another set of 6. And then you have to keep it. Starting from the first player, what can we get? Okay, so we're going to gain 2 leadership resources, and even then, with Theodred, we're likely to add a 3rd resource to leadership. At the very least, the first round. Sneak attack's fairly good. Even with Son of Arnor, sneak attack actually does have a decent enough target. For Gondor's decent. Maybe it would be more so later on when we're pushing for a game. Silverlode Archer, I'm not too hot about, and at the very least, there's a hasty stroke. But that Lorien Guide is in no way useful. I could roll and see if we get a test of will. Nah, I'm going to keep the Foregone Door and Hasty Stroke. Those are probably going to be very useful to me. Okay, this doesn't seem very bad. At the same time, this is not what I'm really looking for. Having 2 Blade of Gondolin is actually not really all that bad, and a Veteran Axe Hand on first turn. Well, there isn't very many allies that I could go and wish for on the first turn. There's also a Gandalf, in which we could play 2 Veteran Axe Hand, or a Veteran Axe Hand, and possibly an Ever Vigilant later on. Ever Vigilant's actually not so bad if we have Gandalf, now that I think about it. Let's see what we can actually go about getting. I want to faint. Okay, we get the Veteran Axe Hand again. Okay, so no leadership this time, so Glowin's resources are going to nothing. However, Veteran Axe Hand's good. 1 Blade of Gondolin, that's usually all I want in my hands. Blade Mastery isn't so bad either. At the very least, that can allow Aragorn, Denethor to survive an encounter with Golian Spawn. Well, then again, several others can, but it makes it easier for him. I don't know how I feel about this one. Protector of Lorien I very much like. Miner of the Iron Hells isn't going to be very useful in the first turn. And Gondorian Spearman, while nice, I don't very much like seeing twice. I actually like this hand even less. Again, Miner of the Iron Hills isn't very useful on the, or isn't ideal on the first turn. And we're not going to be able to get Veteran Axe hands until the second turn anyway, though that isn't such a bad idea. At the very least, Lord of Mladris isn't so bad, but I was really hoping for either Radagast Cunning or Secret Paths. Also, I have to remember to change to blue. Okay. This hand is both cracked and so... I wish there was a decent ally in here. Otherwise, 2 Attest to Wills and a Secret Paths in this hand. And Lower Ladris if need be. Yeah, this one's good. Not gonna lie, this one's real good. Oh, we're keeping that one. So now we can, in setup, go to placing quest cards, and then after that, performing scenario setup. So everything's already placed as it should be. Let's go about reading the actual quest cards. Flies and Spiders. Passage through Mirkwood. You were traveling through Mirkwood Forest, carrying an urgent message from King Thranduil to Lady Galadriel of Lorien. As you move along the dark trail, the spiders gather around you. Set up, search the encounter deck for 1 copy of the Forest Spider and 1 copy of the Old Forest Road and add them to the staging area. Then shuffle the encounter deck. So, 1 copy of Forest Spider and Old Forest Road. I can flip this over. Flies and Spiders. The nastiest things they saw were the cobwebs. Dark, dense cobwebs with threads extraordinarily thick, often stretched from tree to tree, or tangled in the lower branches on either side of them. There were none stretched across the path, but whether because some magic kept it clear, or for what other reason, they could not guess. Okay, so now we can go through and move from setup to the regular game. There's the resource phase, planning phase, quest phase, travel phase, encounter phase, combat phase, and refresh phase. So, with the resource phase, everybody gains 1 resource, and they draw a card. And that just unlocked whatever hand is really bad. I'm loving having Steward of Gondor first turn. Especially if you use it with the a leadership deck, especially with the one I have. It's very much like not losing any kind of resources whatsoever and using it. Okay. After you finish the resource phase, you go into the planning phase. This is when we can go through and use, we can play ally cards, we can go about playing attachment cards, and starting from the first player around, we go about doing that. However, we can also, there's an action window for this entire phase, so anybody can go about playing actions whenever they want. So, let's see. Who deserves Steward of Gondor? I could very well use it on Aragorn, which is usually my go-to. It's not so bad just throwing that onto either Gimli or Legolas because of the just sheer amount of tactics cards in the hand over there. From here, there isn't too much I would consider throwing Steward of Gondor on for. And over here is a lot of cheap events anyway, so that's not so much of a problem. I think just because I could very well... Again, if I get a Calabrian stone, Aragorn can go through and... he can go through and have a spirit resources, so... I think... Actually, at that point in time, what kind of resources would I want to save up on at the end of the scenario? And looking at what we have in our collection, I'm pretty sure nothing actually matters. So let's just throw Stuart Gondor on Aragorn. At the very least, he's one of the only ones that can benefit from the Gondor trait. So we can exhaust that for 2 more resources. And I'm gonna save those ones specifically. Here, we will play with 2 tactics resources, a veteran axe hand. And from here, we can just leave what we have. Quick strike, we could definitely go about using later on. Possibly. Blade of Gondolin is the only thing I'm thinking about using. And I guess I'm not going to go about using it. From here, I'm not going to be using anything whatsoever because those events are just too useful and I cannot get myself to ever want to go about using anything else. So, we go back to the first player, and it now comes down to the quest phase. So, we get to commit characters to the quest. What does that mean? Well, that means when we go about throwing a character to the quest, we can, let's say, with Aragorn, exhaust him. And when we go about doing so, we can also use a resource to ready him, because that's what his response gives us. And Theodred as well. And he can give us a resource to anybody that's already committed to the quest. I'll throw it on Aragorn. But, regularly, it's willpower that matters. So I have generated with 2 willpower and 1 willpower from Theodred. 3. And what you're trying to beat is the threat in the staging area. So far, with the 2 cards in the staging area, there are 3 threats. Threat is where the willpower icon would be on ally or hero cards. While that same symbol is in the very top left on the location. The big thing is whether or not I want to send Glowin to the quest. Glowin's the only one that really could quest on this in this actual deck. Gimli is a no-go for questing. He's too useful for other things. I'm gonna send Glowin. For 2. Over here, we'll send Glorfindel and Thalin. Glorfindel for 3 and Thalin for 1. However, Thalin also has it, so while he's committed to a quest, deal 1 damage to each enemy as it is revealed by the encounter deck. And we can go through and just use Aelin for another 4. Thing is, there's 8 for... we need to have 8 progress for to complete flies and spiders. Because of that, do we want to go through, like I usually do, and just complete flies and spiders no matter what? Or we could just waste time and move into another round. Yeah, there's one treachery in the deck that I really don't want to see. There's only one card in this deck that actually I fear. And basically, it just makes you discard from every player all events in your hand. Which also means that if we had to do so, we would, they would all go to the destroy pile. And even then, right now, that would be 3 from here. Just 1 from there, that would be lucky. Over here, just 2. And over here, literally 5 cards would be going. And a lot of them, very precious, too. Actually, I would say I wouldn't want to lose any of these. Well, that's exactly the reason why you have Eleanor and a Test of Will. But as soon as we're... Do I want to go about sending Barivore? No, I'm not going to send Barivore. So, after that, we go to the portion where we reveal cards from the encounter deck. 1 for each player. Hummer Horns. Okay, this is a decent card to come off of here. Has very low threat. Though it also has 5 victory points. If we take something out that has victory points, it goes into the victory display and not into the encounter discard pile. Which means it's never going to be fought again. The good thing about this is Hummer Horns is another reason why you want to have Done Here available, because he can just run this thing over. As an effect, forced after Hummer Horns engages you, deal 5 damage to a single hero you control. If they're not running a Citadel plate at the moment, that is death to any hero you have. Okay, so second one, Dol Guldur Orcs. So, the first player chooses 1 character currently committed to a quest to deal 2 damage to that character. Well, I would normally say throw it on Glowin. But there are no amount of resources on Glowin's actually going to make that a good idea. So then, at that point in time, I could throw it onto Glorfindel. I'm not really going to be defending with Glorfindel anyway. That's Denethor's job. At the earliest, Glorfindel can go about healing if need be. Well, do note we're not in the middle of an action window, so we cannot use regular actions. King Spider. When revealed, each player must choose and exhaust 1 character he controls. Considering the fact that we have so little characters anyway, that is going to be a Test of Will. So, that's not going to be a thing. Also, each of these has already been damaged by Thalon. And lastly, Forest Gate. So there is 10 in here. That isn't so bad. That means at the moment we can actually go through and put 3 progress on the quest. After you're done with revealing everything, then you have a player action window. Which, this is the most important player action window in the game. in my opinion, because this is when you can actually go and, well, this is how you're going to go through and change the willpower versus threat. Because let's say we had 10 willpower right now and 13 threat. Then we would, at quest resolution, quest unsuccessfully, and we would be raising everybody's threat by the difference, and therefore it'd be 3. Everybody. That's already 3 rounds that we could normally play gone. Because if you hit 50, no matter what, you're out of the game. And therefore, that wouldn't be very good. Yeah, I'll deal with that. We'll just go through and have 3. Technically, I could finish this right now by just using the secret paths, blank out the forest gate, and everybody pitching 1 card for A1's effect. But it's probably best if we just don't rush this. Big thing is if it is good to rush this one. You don't need to, but it is good to rush this one because the third quest card is random, and it's best to go through and the third quest card completely revolves around whether or not you run into Ungoliant spawn, in which one of them will force you to, and the other one you do not want to see it. And therefore, not the very best thing to deal with. And the longer it goes on, the more likely you're going to see Ungoliant spawn anyway. And you do not want Ungoliant spawn to be revealed. It has a nasty effect. So, now that we're done with the questing phase, because we resolved questing, and therefore that's good. Now we can travel. In the travel phase, we may travel to one location if there is no active location. So how you get rid of enemies is you engage them and you kill them off. How you get rid of locations is you go through and, well, you're going to have to explore them. First off, you have to travel into them first. So, Old Forest Road. We do this, we can ready a character we control. Forest Gate, after we travel to it, the first player draws 2 cards. Which, considering it's also the one that has Steward of Gondor, I'm actually liking that idea. Let's travel to the Forest Gate. Now, on quest resolution, next time, we're not going to have to just get 5 above, we're going to have to get 9 at the moment. Because any progress you make in the quest is first placed on the active location. And this one needs 4 progress in order to be completed. And this is normally how you get rid of locations. Which also means that you kinda have to get rid of the active location very frequently if you're not running any location control. Otherwise, the locations just build up in the staging area, and therefore all of the threat. So, now that we're done traveling, we go to the encounter phase. Step 1, player engagement, and then step 2, engagement checks. This is one of my favorite things about this game, and I think it's brilliant. Each and every single one of these enemies have an engagement cost. For the Forest Spider, it's 25. For Hammerhorns, it's 40. For Dol Orcs, it's 10. And for King Spider, it's 20. So, what does the engagement cost actually do? Well, starting from the first player, in step 2, we make engagement checks. And again, starting from the first player, you would look at their threat, and you would look into the staging area and find the highest threat cost enemy that your threat equals or exceeds. So for this, we have 28. Therefore, the force spider would be what would engage us. And then we go to the next one. And then our second one with 29 would have the king spider engage him. And then over here, we would have the Doggoldor orcs, which is the only one that's left. And then once it goes down to the fourth player, well, Hummer Horns is just not going to do anything. Because it's going to be a little bit too high for it. Now, the big thing on this side is how do we want to divvy up the enemies? Because step 1 is player engagement. We can engage with these enemies. So let's say I don't want any enemies over here. Then I can optionally engage with my second player. Let's say I want the king spider. Or better yet, I want the forest spider. Then if the second player is the only one that goes about getting anything, then it's going to go to step 2, engagement checks. And then from the first player, I would, if the forest spider's already gone, it would be the king spider that engages with me. And then once it goes down to the second player, they're also going to gain Doggoldor orcs. Unless it would be 2 enemies here, and then one of them over here. And then none over here. Which doesn't seem so bad, to be honest. At this point in time, we're not going to engage with the Hummer Horns, obviously. That is a stupid idea. We can go about killing off the Hummer Horns with done here, because he can attack into the staging area. And he can definitely do enough damage to kill Hummer Horns. The forest spider, at the moment, needs 5 damage placed onto it. Or it needs 5 attack power, because it has 1 defense and 4 HP. So I'm pretty sure this one should go over here to fight with Gimli. We do have a hasty stroke that we can go about using. Therefore, force spider, when it engages a player, gains 1 attack into the end of the round. Therefore, we can actually have it take 3 damage to Gimli, like completely undefended, and that's going to that could just allow us to kill the force spider on the crackback. What else? The Doggoldor orcs only has 2 attack, and it's probably going to be easily killed. We could send it down this way, defend with Aragorn, and then kill it off with Barivor. And then if the king spider comes down over here, we can defend with Denethor, and then the Legless can kill it off. Yeah, I think that's for the best. Which means we're going to go through player engagement, and we're going to engage the forest spider, engage the king spider, and then we're going to engage the Doggoldor orcs. Therefore, the first player will not have anybody engage with them. Now, we would go through engagement checks, but we already know that nothing's going to engage with the Hummer Horns, so that's pointless. We can go to the combat phase. Starting with the combat phase, we deal 1 shadow card to each enemy. Starting from the first player, you would attach it to the highest threat. You would attach it to the highest threat enemy first. Or I should say, the enemy with the highest threat cost. the engagement cost anyway. So, when this thing attacks, this card is going to flip up. And if you notice with like Forest Spider, Hammerhorns, they have a shadow effect at the very bottom. If this card flips up and has a shadow effect, that effect goes off. And this makes combat have an unpredictable edge to it. This is why we have Hasty Stroke. So when nasty, terrible shadow effects come around, you can just say, nope, not dealing with that. Okay, so now we go to defending. Again, starting with the first player. Resolve any attacks made by enemies engaged with them. We declare attacking enemy. We exhaust a defender, if any. Resolve shadow effect, if any. Determine combat damage. So over here, we're going to go about playing this undefended. You can either defend, or you can decide not to. How this works is if you go and have undefended attack, then let's say if this is completely undefended, Forest Spider has 3 attack, it is going to deal 3 damage to a hero. You have to place that on a hero specifically. You cannot place that onto allies. There's only one ally I can think of later on in the game that actually allows you to place undefended damage on it. But we're going to go through and take a hit. And this is going to be fine. It's going to be undefended. Oh, shit. So, Ungoliant Spawn. Raise defending player's threat by 4. Raise defending player's threat by 8. Instead of this attack is undefended. Do I actually want to get rid of that? The thing is, we're going to kill off Hammerhorns, and we're never going to see Hammerhorns again. Which means the worst enemy to actually have to engage with is going to be gone anyway. I'm going to save Hasty Stroke. We'll add 3 damage to Gimli. And now Gimli has 5 attack. We can defend with Denethor. No shadow effect, so it's only going to have 3 attack, and therefore it's going to do nothing. And from here, we can use Aragorn to defend because he has Sentinel. And it's going to whiff. 2 attack, 2 defense, nothing. So now we can go through with the attacking. First player, once again, resolves any attacks against enemies engaged with him. Declare enemy to attack, exhaust attackers, you can have multiple, and determine combat damage. So we can use Done Here and attack the Hammerhorns in the staging area. The thing is, even without his other effect, Done Here wouldn't be able to kill this thing. When attacking to staging area, Done Here does increase his attack by 1, and therefore this will be killed off. And it's going to go into the victory display. Now, from here, we can use Gimli. And we can just straight up kill this Forest Spider. From here, we can use Legolas to kill off the King Spider. Thing is, once Legolas participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, place 2 progress tokens in the current quest. I love this card. Having ranged and just being able to make progress is so cool. And then Beravor can just kill off the Dol Guldur orcs. I really wish I was able to actually kill him off with Eleanor. So then I could go through and just exhaust Barivore for cards. Also, I never drew cards off of Forest Gate, now that I think about it. Okay, so we killed off each and every single enemy, and all we have left in here is the Old Forest Road. So now we go to the refresh phase. Each player refreshes all cards he controls and raises his threat by 1, and then the first player token is passed to the left. Why not? Yeah, now it finally worked. And now, this is 100% our first player. Which is good, considering the fact that I prefer having as many enemies engaged over here as possible. Now we can go back to the resource phase. So everybody gains resources and draws a card. Still, what is with? Like, I'm not trying to gain any more tactics cards with that deck. Why am I still gaining? Why am I still drawing tactics cards? 1/3 of the deck is leadership. Fine. Just fine. At this point, what do we want to do? I'm actually debating. I'm actually really debating on whether or not we want to... whether or not we want to actually use Barivore to draw cards over here. Usually when I do so, I like having other allies around to kind of pick up the slack. But I don't think that's going to be possible. Okay, this is fine. So, let's go through and... Yep. We're going to use Barivore. We're going to draw 2 cards over here. Okay, fine. For Gondor, that's at least decent. We can add in another Veteran Axe Hand. Over here we have quite a lot. Might as well get another Veteran Axe Hand. And I'm kind of debating on whether or not I want to just heal Gimli's damage. And I think I'm gonna do just that. We don't need another ally. I'm gonna save Miner of the Iron Hills. There is a condition that we can go about dealing with in this. What else? Well, we can go through and exhaust Steward Gondor for more resources. We can use 3 for Silverlode Archer. Pretty sure now that since we have Grim Resolve, we should be able to do whatever we need to. We don't need Grim Resolve in this scenario. It's an easy one. But now we're going to have to go through and quest. So let's quest with Glowin once again. Same thing over here. Glorfindel and Thalin. Eowyn. And then Aragorn and Theodred. Using 1 resource off of Aragorn to ready him. And Theodred is going to add a resource to Probably gonna add a resource to A1. Also, this should be 8 higher, now I think about it. So that was 2, 4, H. Oh no, that's 10 total. That would be another 3. This is going to be 13 again, but this time it's going to be versus 1 instead of 3 in the initial. Run the staging area. So, Mountains of Mirkwood. This one isn't so bad. Just going to increase it by 2. Caught in a Web. Play with the highest threat level attached to this card to one of his heroes. And that's going to be you, Glowing. Chieftain Uftak. Wow, that's some nice victory points. We might as well kill him off. And lastly, Dolgoldor Beastmaster. Both of these dudes are going to be gaining one damage each. Still, this really wasn't all that bad. There's only 7 in the staging area. We need 7 in order to actually complete this. So, using A1's ability, we can throw a Citadel plate away in order to increase our willpower by 1. And thus, 4 skates can complete. And so is Flies and Spiders. A fork in the road. As you move through Mirkwood, hounded by spiders, the forest path forks before you. Unsure of what lies ahead, but spurred by the urgency of your message, you choose a path and proceed. When you defeat this stage, proceed to one of the 2 A Chosen Path stages at random. Okay. This means, well, you notice there's only 2 progress here. You can technically beat this quest in 2 turns, 2 rounds, by going and questing as quickly as possible, going through Flies and Spiders from the very first round, and then using Legless to just finish off an enemy. You complete this, and then you go right to the next one. And tactically, if you have enough damage dealing cards in your hand, you could beat this in 1 turn if you go through and have to kill off Ungolian Spawn. Okay, so let's see. Do we want to travel? Now, Mountains of Mirkwood's really nice because after it leaves play as an explored location, each player may search the top 5 cards of his deck or for 1 card and add it to his hand. Shuffle the rest of the search cards back into the owner's decks. I'm fine with this. We don't need to do anything. We can go through and travel to the Old Forest Road next turn. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the encounter phase. Well, problem is, Chieftain Uftak and Dolgoldor Beastmaster are going to go over here. Which means we're going to take the Dolgoldor Beastmaster somewhere else. That somewhere else is going to be over here. So engagement checks, Chieftain Uftak's over here. Now we can go to combat. we can deal with Chieftain Uftak now. Let's see. Legolas is going to have to attack elsewhere. He only has 3 attack. So after Chieftain Uftak attacks, we place 1 resource token on him. And if I remember correctly, yeah, this entire thing would be resolving an attack. So he's only going to deal 3 damage, or he has 3 attack first time. So I'm going to take this one undefended. And it's going to whiff. And Gimli's going to take 3 damage. Okay. He's also going to gain 1 resource, which is going to increase his attack power by 2. Over here, Dol-Guldur Beastmaster has 2 shadow cards. We're going to be defending with Denethor. Okay, so defending player must choose and discard 1 attachment he controls. Okay, that's nice. I don't have any. And then, oh, thank you. The Necromancer's Reach. Deal 1 damage for each exhausted character. You never want to see that. So, that one's not actually going to do anything for him. Now, we can use Gimli and 2 Veteran Axe Hands to kill off Chieftain Uftak. At this point in time, we have a 9 versus his... Well, all he really needed was 8 to kill him off. And over here, we can use a Veteran Axe Hand and Legolas to have 5 damage, which is going to kill off the Dol-Guldur Beastmaster. This will also place 2 progress on Fork in the Road, which is going to complete it. Okay, so which one are we going to get today? Don't leave the path. Okay, this wasn't what I wanted. Each player must search the encounter deck and discard pile for 1 spider card of his choice and add it to the staging area. Okay, we have to find and defeat Ungoliant Spawn to win this game. Okay. So, what is in here? There's a forest spider, there's a king spider, and there is yet another forest spider. We might as well get as many enemies out of the encounter deck as we possibly can. And because these are added to the staging area and not revealed, King Spider does not make anybody exhaust. And then we can go through and get Ungoliant Spawn from the discard pile. There he is. Thing is, if we didn't get Ungoliant Spawn, then we would actually have to go through and let the card... eventually, we're just going to have to go through the entire encounter deck until it comes back around, shuffled back into the deck. And then eventually face off against it. And that is if it doesn't actually get discarded as a shadow card. Yeah, you always go about choosing to put it back in there. Not to mention, that when revealed effect sucks. So... That's quite a lot. The fun thing is, when you always want to go about getting Don't Leave the Path this way, because it's after the engagement phase. That's the big thing, is trying to actually get this to finish after the engagement phase, so you don't have to actually face even more enemies than what's already been thrown off. Not to mention, at this point in time, because this was the first player, and we went about attacking with everybody else, we can technically attack what's done here right now. And we just don't have the resource for Blade Mastery. If I could use Blade Mastery right now, I would. I'm actually debating on using For Gondor, to be honest. If I go about using For Gondor, I can increase... It's going to be a waste. A major waste. I could increase Dunhere's attack to 4. And I could kill off this King Spider. Or I could do so from here. I have 2 For Gondors, which is going to make Dunhere's attack power 4 when attacking to the staging area. We can attack, and we can kill off the King Spider. Meaning less threat, and also less enemies we're going to have to deal with. Also, there's 10 in the staging area. Not so bad. Let's go through and refresh everybody. It is the refresh phase now. However, Glowin must... Glowin's not going to ready. Okay, so let's go through and go in the resource phase. Now, I'm planning on beating this turn. I'm 100% planning on beating this turn. So we kind of want to go through and use the least amount of resources. Because any resources not used will get pulled up over here. So that we can play cards from our collection. So what do we need in order to actually be able to do anything? Quick Strike's definitely going to be useful. Having the ability to just kill off something would be very useful, but the only one that could possibly even do that would be Glorfindel. You only get one chance at it. So I'm actually thinking Blade Mastery is probably the better option. Over here... Over here, all I need to do is just survive. All we have to do is kill Ungoliant Spawn. So if Ungoliant Spawn, like, let's say, gets thrown over here, and then we go about just, let's say, defending with Aragorn, increasing Aragorn's defense if need be, then we can attack with Gimli, Veteran Axe Hand, we could just straight out kill off Ungoliant Spawn. We're probably also going to have to use Legolas, but we also have another For Gondor if needed. But then again, that's going to be more for defending than anything else. Again, Eleanor can defend when For Gondor's in play. But yeah, I'm not going to go about playing anything over here. I'm not going to go about playing anything over here either. Over here... Well, over here, I could technically use Sneak Attack later on and just get a Son of Arnor into play, engage with something else, and then attack it. But no matter what, let's exhaust Stuartaganda to just gain some resources. Don't really need to play anything. And if need be, we can just... go through and sneak attack later. And I don't really think I need to use anything over here, though. It is nice, the fact that I now have a Guard of the Citadel. The problem is going to be dealing with the threatened staging area. All we have to make sure is that we don't threat out. That's it. And the only one that has a possibility of it is over here. So now we can go through and quest. I can quest with Glorfindel, Fallon. Awen, obviously, that's for 8. Aragorn, Reddingham with 1 resource as Theodred. Resource is probably going to be going to Fallon. Just because we have the least amount of tactics resources. And so far that would be 11. We can't go about using Glowin though, which is sad. What's going to be coming off here? Driven by Shadow. That isn't fun. Okay. That's going to increase each location and each enemy by 1 threat. So 5. If there are no cards in the staging area, Driven by Shadow gains Surge. I'm gonna go through and test a will that. Now 2 Necromancer's Reach. Okay, so this won't kill anybody, therefore I'm gonna let this just go. And technically this will give us a resource for Glowin. This will be 3. Enchanted Stream. And then 4. Great Forest Web. So, in order to quest successfully, we just have to hit parity between willpower and threat. So for that, we can use Awen's effect. Increases her by 1. That'll increase her by 1. And that will increase her by 1. Therefore, we're at 14 versus 14. We'll quest successfully. No threat increase. And now we're going to go into travel. Do we want to go and travel? Yeah, we might as well. Old Forest Road. Glowin's going to get... no, it's not Glowin. Over here, we can get Glorfindel. From there, we go to the encounter phase. How are we going to split these up? Oh, Forest Spider can come down here. Forest Spider can come over here, and Ungoliant Spawn can come over here. So, let's see. We'll go through, play shadow cards, and deal with this. So Denethor is going to defend here, and nothing's going to happen. We are going to... Now, let's see. We're going to go through Exhaust Eleanor, and she will take 1 damage. This is at 3 at the moment. And from here, we are going to exhaust Aragorn to defend. And that's going to whip, so it's only going to be 2 damage on Aragorn. Thing is, as you can probably tell, I'm trying not to waste the resources for Gondor. So, now we can go to attacking. Over here, Veteran Axe Hand and Glorfindel will kill off Forest Spider. Over here, Berivor and Silverlode Archer. Unfortunately, are only going to be able to... Actually, wait. Let's not use a Silverlode Archer. Let's use Legolas. See, this is 5. I'll get up to 9. We only need 11 in order to kill this. So we can use Legolas to kill this one. because all we need is 5 to kill it. And then using Silverlord Archer, 2 Venom Axe Hands, and Gimli, we can kill off Ungoliant Spawn. So, the players must find and defeat Ungoliant Spawn to win the game, and we have. Isn't that lovely? No destroyed cards. No problem with this one. It is the easiest scenario in the entire game. Well, it is mainly the easiest scenario in the entire game. There are a few other contenders for that, but usually those other ones you have a better card pool anyway by that point. It's an introductory one, and I don't really mind the scenario at all. I just have played it way too many times, though it's still fun to play just because of it the fact that it has this of you can either have Don't Leave the Path, or you get Beorn's Path. Players cannot defeat the stage while Ungoliant Spawn is in play. If players defeat the stage, they have won the game. See, Don't Leave the Path is the more middle option. Beorn's Path is either the better option or the worst option. It all comes down to whether Ungoliant Spawn is something you can actually go about fighting. And with Don't Leave the Path, you can add Ungoliant Spawn to the staging area, which makes so you don't actually have to deal with its when revealed effects. Not to mention, you can add the King Spiders in, which is going to blank out their when revealed effects too, so you don't have to deal with any of that. And therefore, you have a controlled environment, you could say. But with Beorn's Path, if you fight Ungoliant Spawn, number one, you're going to deal with its when revealed effect. You're going to have to deal with any of the King Spiders that might come along. And it's just depends on whether or not you find it. If you find it, it's worse. If you don't, it's better. In my opinion. Because the only thing you actually have to go about doing, or the only thing I had to do in that last one, is just kill off Ungoliant Spawn. I didn't have to kill off everything. I just did that because I like to. But this is still a nice little scenario. It's the enemies and locations being actually helpful to you. And the enemies just being kind of weak. It won't make it easy. The treacheries in it can still be a pain, real pain. But that's fine. So now we can go into quest resolution. The first thing that we'd go about doing is any kind of cards in our destroyed pile we could buy back with the victory points we got from the victory display, which we have 9. But there's nothing for us to go and deal with there, because nothing got destroyed. So now we can add 5 points for beating a regular scenario. Now we have 14 victory points. We can duplicate cards now. Going and bringing up the victory point costs. We're going to see if we can duplicate certain cards. But the cards that we can duplicate have to be in our decks. And of the cards I want to go about duplicating, I'm gonna want 2 Attest to Wills. This will cost 4 points. Is there anything that I would want from leadership right now? I already have 5 sneak attacks. I could get 1 more. And I guess I will get 1 more. Just to make it an even 6. So at least we have 2 play sets. For now, anyway. I'm also going to get Secret Paths. Again, this is a very important card to me. And having 2 play sets is very... Well, that's just something I want. And this is 8 so far. We have another 6 left. We could go through and start gaining dwarves. Again, we're going to want dwarves very, very soon. We can go and find all of our dwarves and just throw them in. Okay, so these are going to be our duplicated cards. These are going to be the rewards we actually get for it. Again, having as many testable is going to be very important because we're also going to want to be able to play it from the collection if necessary, or a, well, obviously 3 or 5 resources. Though I'm still interested in making that 4 or 7. Also, things that cost 0 also cost at least, or it still have a multiple for 1. It's going to be treated as if it's a cost of 1. Okay, so what else can we go about doing? Now we can add 3 resources here, another 3 from here, five here. Thing is, not using any resources but using a minimal amount is something we're not necessarily gonna want to do in each and every single scenario. That is just poor thinking. But damn, now actually I think about, I'm gonna throw one of these Miner of the Iron Hells out. I want to faint. Yeah, I blanked out on faint. So that's going to be what we're going to do. At this point in time, we actually have enough resources in the bank to be able to play a Test of Will or Faint from our collection. But if we do Faint, it's going to disappear. That isn't so bad, though. What we're really going to want is to save up so that we can actually get a decent ally, like we can gain some decent allies. And play them from our collection. Certain scenarios are ridiculously tough, and having the opportunity of playing something from our collection is going to be very useful. Especially if, like, let's say certain scenarios require certain types of allies. Like, very soon we're gonna want some ranged ones. And outside that, as soon as we get into, what was it called? Massing at Osgiliath, we're going to want to go through and deal. We're going to want some quick allies. So with that being said, have a nice day, everybody.